Hey, yo, Fro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, if you're a YouTube user, make sure you enable notifications so you always know when a new episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast or Fro Wrestling News is coming live to you. If you want to become a member of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family and you want your name in the shoutouts like our good buddy Harold in St. Louis, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. Don't forget the new loyalty rewards program. Any $15 a month contributor will co-host an episode of Going Live with me, and our $7.50 a month contributors get entered into a drawing for one winner to also co-host an episode of Going Live. Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling News, where we bring you today's wrestling news and rumors in roughly 5 minutes. Make sure if you have any questions for Mr. Fro, you can call into the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160 and give us your questions and comments so that we can get to as many of them as we can on our Going Live episodes Saturday nights. Today's news: all sorts of things going around the wrestling world. Big news we're going to get to is the Royal Rumble. I know it's early. It's not time for the Royal Rumble, but that's the headline today. The early betting odds have been released for the Royal Rumble, and you may be surprised to hear who the favorite to win the Rumble is. The Rock is currently favored to win the Rumble as a 2-1 favorite, followed by Daniel Bryan, who is a 6-1, Seth Rollins 8-1, and then Braun Strowman at 9-1. Other big stars, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and Finn Balor, all 12-1 odds of winning the Royal Rumble match. Now, what a lot of people have noticed is there's been a significant increase in the way WWE talks about and refers about The Rock recently. And part of that obviously is because he's constantly putting films out and he's a homegrown boy and they want to support their guy. However, there has been rumbling in the back that a huge money match at WrestleMania for next year would see Roman Reigns defend the Universal Championship in the main event against The Rock. And I think when you see these early betting odds, at least at some level, you have to think that there's some truth to that there may be some at least negotiation. I'm not saying the match is going to happen. I'm not saying that The Rock would take the match even if it was. I think Roman Reigns would love to get in the ring with him, but I don't know where they're at in that negotiation. But at least seeing the betting odds means that there is definitely some smoke, maybe not quite a fire yet, but we may be getting there. So we got to keep our eyes on what happens with their Universal Championship in the next couple months, especially with this new Shield angle. I suspect that Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose will feud at some point, freeing up Roman Reigns to face The Rock. The Big Show's in the news this week as well. Big Show is discussing whether or not he wants to retire from WWE. Now, it's a very specific statement, whether he wants to retire from WWE. That does not mean that he doesn't want to retire from in-ring competition. He talked about in an interview with ESPN that's who he is as an entertainer. He wants to get out there, he wants to see people, be a part of the wrestling community, and but he never specifically mentioned in-ring competition. He did mention that he would have to find a way to find another passion that brought in a paycheck if he tried to do something else, and he would have to see where the road takes him. But on the surface, it sounds like, oh yeah, I'm not retiring, but he didn't reference an in-ring return, which could be an indicator that his in-ring days are over. Earlier this year, it was rumored he was going to be at the Greatest Royal Rumble, and a setback in his return from injury made it so that didn't happen, and now he still has yet to return to a WWE ring. Curious to see if at some point he calls it a career, or at least in-ring career, and moves on to something else. The Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes are huge in the news today because they were commenting on whether or not they would be interested in making a move to WWE when their contracts are up later this year. And in the past, the theory has been that they would be more than happy to at least entertain, at this stage in their career, what WWE would be offering. But this conversation was very different. They were talking to Chris Jericho, and one of the comments that came out, basically summarizing it, was that, you know, in the WWE, everything is so overproduced and overscripted, it really limits a person's creativity. It prevents somebody from being able to take control of their matches and put together the best sequences, making sure everybody gets their high spots in, everybody's selling and hitting high impact moves, and that's something that the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes love about being independent. When it comes to Cody Rhodes, he's been there before. and he doesn't see a way to go back. And he says, one of the quotes from the interview on the Talk is Jericho podcast said, somebody asked me the other day, would you go back? And the answer was pretty much definitely become, I don't think so. Not because I don't like WWE or WrestleMania, or I don't like the money, or I don't like the big production, because I'm literally now incapable of taking direction. He doesn't want people writing down every word he's going to say, every move he's going to do, and that may be the problem with WWE programming today. It's so scripted, it doesn't feel authentic. The Young Bucks, they echoed the same sentiments, and in their situation, they said a lot of people have to go to WWE to get a career, to get a reputation, to get a name brand, and then when they leave, they go to the independents and they can command high salaries. They are able to have done the same thing and have the same effect without ever having actually gone to WWE. So going there would actually limit their creativity. It would prevent them from being able to have the input that they currently have in the product that they put out, and that could be a huge limiting factor in their interest in remaining or going to WWE. Dave Meltzer reported on the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the other tidbit of the day, for many years now, John Cena has been the #1 merchandise mover in the WWE. That is sadly, or maybe not so sadly, no longer the case. Roman Reigns is now the #1 merchandise mover in WWE, which is a big part of why he gets the push that he gets. Some people would argue that he's been pushed so hard, of course he has to sell more merchandise. Other people argue that the reason he's getting the push is because of his increase in merchandise sales. Whichever side of the fence you're on, here's the slim reality. No matter how much John Cena was ever booed on television or at a pay-per-view, he was revered in many house shows, and he sold a ton of merchandise. Roman Reigns, again, is another guy who's been booed horribly and mercilessly, but in the house shows sells a ton of merchandise. So, at the end of the day, it's all about making money in WWE. It's not about putting out the best product necessarily. It's about moving money, moving merchandise, getting TV deals, securing these big contracts, and that's very different from a company like Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, New Japan, AAW, Lucha Underground, AAA, CMLL, all those companies where they really do care about the in-ring quality. WWE's so established, that doesn't have to be the focus. So, be curious to see how long he stays as the top earner or the top merchandise mover. I would have expected Braun Strowman to be the guy to take it over because he's so organically over, but a lot of it has to do with being booked in main events and things of that nature. It is also my understanding that Roman Reigns is extraordinarily understanding and very open to the fans when he's in the accommodations of a hotel or thing of that nature, and that's something that the kids really latch onto, and that reputation spreads. I know here in my area in Philadelphia, whenever they come to town, you go down to the Marriott Hotel, and you could see who the really great guys are. Some may surprise you. They really will. And the last tidbit for today, Daniel Bryan talking about Big Cass, talking about how he really loved working with Big Cass. He really wants him to do well. And as a person, he thinks he's a great guy. So it's interesting to me that somebody who has been very upfront with the fans, who's very open to telling the fans how things really are, is in so much support of Big Cass, who has gotten such a bad reputation about his attitude and being able to work with him and all those sorts of things behind the scenes. But here's one of the people that we all love and respect so much, telling us he's actually a really, really great guy. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce all the music and sound effects that we use in our shows. And make sure you check out the indie events tab at frowrestling.com to support indie wrestling near you. Tons of events there. Check them out. Gotta go there. And check out In Fro's Corner, my blog on frowrestling.com. We have an article coming out this week about booking the Women's Revolution. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com or go to In Fro's Corner. Till next time, take care, everybody. Peace.